Hey everybody, Brandon Railway here. Gonna do a video reviewing two of my three new locomotives because they are DCC in sound. These are going to be Brandon Railway locomotives. And this video is going to go over everything. So it's going to be long, so buckle in. These are Operator Series by Scale Trains. They are DCC in sound, but they are Operator Series, therefore there is not a bunch of detail. Mainly, you have the GE builder plate, your sight glass, fuel nozzle, emergency shutoff valve. You do have the FR on the front, photo etched grills, the low nose headlight. The number boards are printed on, they are not LED. And you have front ditch lights. The rivet counter has front and back ditch lights, a little bit more detail, well, a lot more detail, but it's the same chassis. That's what I love about Scale Trains, is that they didn't sacrifice power, they sacrificed detail from Operator Series to rivet counter. That way, if you can't afford rivet counter, you're not sacrificing power, you're sacrificing detail. And I would rather sacrifice detail than power, especially because I love running big, long trains. So anyhow, all locomotives are preset to the cab address of 3. Your startup sequence is F8. And I'm going to have to mute my TV here for a second because I actually got the rail camera on at Bella, New Mexico. So I'll mute that because sometimes these engines can be fairly quiet. So I will hit the startup sequence and then I will move the camera a little closer so you can hear better, hopefully. I don't know how well you can hear it, but it is fairly quiet. Supposedly, the volume is set at 160 of 192. So I'm going to see real quick if I can program the volume to be a little bit higher and if it'll work without shutting it off. Yeah, can't quite tell. But anyhow, quick rundown on the functions. I'll move my camera so you can see the functions better. I'm using my box here to hold the camera for me. F0 is your headlights, the low nose headlight, so therefore you will not have lit number boards. And on my little instruction sheet here, because it's been a while since I've messed with anything Scale Trains DCC. 1 is your bell. And if I remember right, let me look at the back here. I think there's a couple different bells. Yeah, 2 different bells, 4 different horns. I don't see the CV for that yet, but I know there is an easy way to do that. Let's see. Oh, there we are. There's a Graham E bell, and then there's a steel bell. I'm going to leave the E bell, the electronic bell, on this locomotive. But the other locomotive, number 4653, it will get the steel bell, and it will get a different horn. Function 2 is your horn. And let's go through. I'm going to go through the get my camera to keep focused on the engine there. I'm going to go through the different horns that they have on here. So if I program 163 to a value of 0, that's the original horn, is 0. That's a Nathan K5LA. I really like that. I think I'm going to leave it at that. But we'll go ahead and do the other 2 horns that they have on CV163. Let's enter a value of number 2. That's a K3LA by Nathan. These are all Nathan horns. I think number 1 and number 2 are what I'm going to use for the 2 trains. But let's go ahead and look at number 3, or listen to number 3 and see what it sounds like. Yeah, I think number 1 and number 2 are the ones I like the most. So we'll go ahead and program that back, number 163, to a value of 1. Back to the Nathan K5. Number 3 is coupler crash. Number 4 is your dynamic brakes, but that's only when moving. And its volume is fairly quiet, so I'm actually going to crank that up, because I love to hear the dynamic brakes just really howling on these. Number 5, F5, is not used in this model. 6 is your ditch lights, and they do flash. Number 7 is manual compressor. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but I heard it. Its volume is pretty low too. And F9 is drive hold, which is basically putting the locomotive in neutral. So we'll turn on the drive hold and see if that... Yep. There's notch 8, full power. Gotta love the drive hold. We'll shut the drive hold off. Go ahead and program. That way I can get the other locomotive on here. I'm going to program locomotive number 3, the address. We're going to make it long, and it's going to be number 4651. Well, there is number 4651. I think I'm going to try, let's see, manual compressor is CV number 307. Maximum volume is 190. We'll put it up to 150. See if the compressor's any louder now. Not really. So I'll do the shutdown and we'll turn it back on and see if any of this resets, because some of it doesn't actually take effect until you turn the locomotive off and turn it back on. Some of the volume is like that. So we'll see if it turns on and if it's any louder now. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. Trying to get that volume turned up, but it just doesn't quite sound like it is going up. Let me try one more thing here real quick. Program number 307. Yeah, it's not getting much louder, so maybe it's something I'm doing wrong. Not sure. But anyhow, that is number 4651, so I will go ahead and move her forward. We'll shut her off and I'll get the other one put on here. Well, I guess she's going to turn back on. But I can't imagine that it will, I can imagine it's going to sound really cool having both of these going at the same time. So we'll go ahead and turn on number 3, because that's what these are factory programmed for, and the back engine will now turn on. And we'll get it all programmed up. That way they're both set to different numbers, and I can use a consisting mode, because I love being able to consist them. That way, if I want to run just one engine, I can. Or if I want to consist them to do certain things, I can. Because if I leave them both on number 3, they'll both blow the horn and use the bell when they're moving on the same train. And they shouldn't ever do that. So I don't like that. But we'll put it in reverse and show you the headlight on it and get the camera to focus up on it a little bit there. And we'll go ahead and program, and we'll get CV163, which is our horn, and we'll set that at number 2. That way we've got that different horn for locomotive number 2. That's the K3. And I'm going to go ahead and change the bell on it too, just to show you guys, or have you guys hear what the steel bell sounds like. That's on CV number 164. And here's the steel bell. So here's the steel bell. And I'm going to try one more thing on this locomotive before I program the loco number, just to see if maybe that's why I couldn't get the volume to go up. You program CV31 to a value of 16 and 32 to a value of 1. And now we're going to try the volume. If I flip my little cheat sheet over here, CV63, we're going to set at a value of 190. And I did hear it get just a little bit louder. So now we're going to try CV number 307, which is the manual compressor, and put it up to 150. And see if it's any louder and if you guys might actually be able to hear it now. Alright, let's try that again. CV number 307, value of 190. Does sound a little bit louder, but not much. That's the only thing I don't really like about scale trains locomotives, is their sound can be pretty quiet. And I like having loud locomotives when I'm at train shows, because otherwise you can't hear them. But other than that, it's everything else on these locomotives is really cool. I love scale trains locomotives. The only downfall, like I said, is the sound being pretty quiet. But anyhow, we'll go ahead and get this programmed. Address, long address of 4653. That way both locomotives are set to cab address, and that way I can select number 4651, turn it on. We'll back it up, get it hooked up to 4653, and we'll put them in a consist mode and run them around the track here. These engines have very good slow speed control. That's another thing that I really like about scale trains. We'll set up a consist, an advanced consist, address number 126. Lead locomotive number 4651 going forward. And then number 4653 is going backwards. So now both locomotives are on the same consist and will move as such. The lead locomotive is the only one that will play its bell. And it is the only one that will blow its horn, as it should. And I'm going to go ahead and have to move my box here so that I can move around. And I'll show you guys these engines move in just a little bit here. Nice brake squeal on them. And when we reverse them, we get the back light on the, or the front light on the back engine. The ditch lights will not come on though, because it is second, and it's just as if it's backing up. It is not the lead locomotive, but we'll see if we can get the dynamic brakes going here. And as you can see, that's the other reason why I don't like McHenry couplers. If you have any kind of a grade, it can be fairly difficult to keep them coupled. There's the dynamic brakes. Cool. So anyhow, I'll leave the video with this, and then I've got one more locomotive to do a review of. I will do that when I switch back to DC, being that it is a DC only locomotive for now. But here's the review of the two new Brandon Railway locomotives, and I will be doing a full running review of them with their pulling power in the next video, or in another video, because the next one might be just DC, where I just do the review of the other new locomotive. I'm not sure how I'm putting videos out, whether I'm going to do the running review of these or the DC one. So there are two more videos to come. One will be the DC locomotive, and one will be a polling demonstration on these locomotives once I get the couplers switched out and everything. So for now, this is Brandon Railway signing off.